Welcome to another episode of Paid in Full, where we talk about how money is made in any space, business, profession, or industry. I'm your host, Ogeva Imasven, and today we're exploring the intersection of healthcare and digital content creation with a guest who has revolutionized health communication in Nigeria. Joining us today is a medical practitioner, content creator, and health advocate. He has leveraged social media to disseminate health information in an engaging and accessible manner. Today, we'll uncover the revenue streams in the realm of health content creation and how professionals can monetize their expertise in this digital age. To help us break this down is Dr. Chinonso Egemba, popularly known as Aproko Doctor. And we're not just going to find out how this man actually makes money. We are going to find out how you can do the same. So welcome to Paid in Full, Aproko Doctor.
Thank you.
You're a busy man. We tried to get you for so long, but I really appreciate your presence here. Thank you for being here. And today, I would really want the audience to learn how to make money by following your model. You know, it is a very, very, very interesting observation from us. You know, being able to market yourself with what you love doing. But let's even start with you being a doctor, first of all, before we even go into the nitty-gritties. Okay. So, are you practicing now? Practicing as a doctor?
Yes, I am practicing as a doctor.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, am I in clinical practice? The answer is no.
Okay.
And that's because a lot of people don't yet appreciate the other aspects of medicine. You know, we think, oh, once you're a doctor, you have to have a stethoscope around your neck. And we forget that there are other aspects to medicine. There's public health.
Yes.
You know, there's the clinical physicians. Those are the ones you see at the hospitals. But then the doctors in the hospitals need partnerships with doctors outside the hospital.
Right?
No, they are specialists in the hospital.
Okay.
But the doctors in the hospital also need the partnership of the doctors outside the hospital. That's how health policies are informed, or else you just be in the hospital and other people are making laws for you and creating environments that might be difficult for you to work in. So I strongly believe that doctors should be involved in other areas aside from just clinical practice. So if you ask me, do I still practice clinical medicine? No. But am I still practicing as a doctor? Yes.
So I'm still curious, sorry.
Yeah.
As a doctor, so you consult, basically?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The doctor's job, right, does not just revolve around consulting.
Okay. So I just want to shed more light. I told you you're someone I really, really focus on. So and it's good to know, because I thought, man, Aproko has forgotten Dr. Jai. He's making a lot of money. You know? So it's good to know that you do that. So when exactly did you switch? Yeah.
I think it was just before COVID. Just before COVID was when I decided to face behavioral change communication, which is what I do now full time.
Okay.
But before then, I had worked in a couple of hospitals. At some point, I was working in 3 hospitals at the same time.
Okay.
Not ideal. I would not recommend that to anybody, but
I actually get it. I worked in a hospital for a bit. I'm not a doctor though, but I understand the idea of having doing 3 at the same time.
Not ideal. And then just before COVID, I think it was December 2019.
Yeah.
I decided to let me give this a chance and see what it's like, you know. And also because it was something I was drawn to doing. I would dare say it felt like purpose.
Okay.
I felt like this is what I should be doing in my life. And, it just looked like everything I had done up till this particular point just culminated
into
this, you know. So I was like, okay, let's just do this 3-4 months and see what it's like. Because even while I was working in 3 hospitals at the same time, I was still doing this. So it was a bit difficult juggling a lot of things at the same time.
Yeah, of course.
I was like, okay, let me just keep clinical practice and then focus on this. Because at some point, there was this, I was disillusioned as to what to expect as a doctor here in Nigeria. Like I mentioned earlier, 3 jobs at a time. And with 3 of them, salary was not even enough to cover the basic things about life, and they say things like, oh, when you up your skill game, you're able to earn more. But I don't think that looks at the whole picture.
It doesn't cover it, really.
Exactly.
I agree with
and
you.
When I say it doesn't look at the whole picture, it doesn't look at people from different career backgrounds. I come from quite a lowly background, and in the kind of background I come from, which I'm sure a lot of people watching are going to relate with, you are responsible for quite a number of people aside yourself.
Yes.
And that now becomes a struggle of, okay, so how much do I set aside for upskilling? And when you put that together, you realize that the time frame or your runway is longer than someone who doesn't have anybody looking up to them.
Because it's even going to affect other things.
Exactly. So it kind of affects your decisions. And this was a very critical point in my life where I was even juggling the question of, do I leave the country? But like I said, one of the things I still strongly believe is that there's purpose in what I was doing. I could see the impact on the lives of the people I was making. I think I'd saved enough money to be able to do this for 3-4 months just to see where it leads, focus on it, and here we are now.
Oh, that's how we got here. Yeah. I was about to say it because I was about to ask you, why didn't you jump up? Because I know a lot of doctors, especially during the COVID period, a lot of them, left the country. So it's good you stayed. Thank God you're still around. Then, obviously, this is another curiosity of mine. So, how did the name Aproko come up? Wait, before you even go in, right? So, I mean, the understanding we will have Aproko is somebody that is nosy. Let me even use the Amebo. So, how did that name come up? It's quite a creative one too. So
funny enough, it would have been Aproko Doctor rather than Aproko Doctor.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm in line.
Because initially, during my journey, we had started with, trying to appeal to the international audience.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because I was trying to appeal to the international audience. I was generally trying to help people with health education. And so I started making content in the way I knew how to, which was following templates on YouTube and, making content like them. But before now, there wasn't really anybody doing what I wanted to do. There were quite a number of doctors, for example, like Health Attainer, who were some of the very early pioneers, and I wanted to localize the content. Right?
Yeah.
And so it had to be something that people could relate to.
Yeah, that's the word.
It's like, okay, what do I call myself? But I knew at the same time, because of the platforms we chose, which is a digital platform, and I was battling for attention with a number of other people. And I needed to face it head on.
Yeah.
I was battling for attention with people who were skit makers, battling with bloggers, for instance. And we all know what draws attention more. And this was health education. Health education, before now, had never even had a front seat.
Never
even had a front seat. Digital, traditional, it never had it was
just
something
comedy music.
Comedy music then, right?
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, let's take a gamble. It was either Aproko Doctor, because I wasn't going to mind my business. That was the idea.
Okay.
I was going to maintain their health. I was going to
it makes sense.
Be nosy in their health.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's do it. It was between Aproko and Aproko Doctor.
Okay.
And the idea was, when you hear Aproko and Doctor, based on the kind of culture we had, those were never 2 words that went together.
They don't now.
Before now.
I'm like, how is a doctor and Aproko?
Exactly. So I wanted that effect.
Yeah.
To be able to, okay, when people hear about it, why do you have Aproko and Doctor in the same, It took a while, because initially people thought I was a comedian. When they just hear Aproko Doctor, they just, Akporo and the rest of them, Other people took the plunge. And I was like,
content
okay,
to sell itself. Really.
Let's see. But it was designed to catch your attention, and I think it has maintained its way.
Okay, that's nice. Aproko is better, by the way.
I agree.
Because Amebo is actually the name of a woman in one of the old Nigerian
Yeah.
sitcoms. She was a very nosy woman.
And
Her name was Amebo. So that's how the name applied,
Yeah.
right? So you're not a woman anyway, so Aproko definitely applies. So and that's nice though. I appreciate the transition. So when exactly did you feel okay? I know you said 4 months you wanted to transition. When exactly you feel okay? This can actually work. Let me move on. Or what happened? What triggered it? Did you go viral or
To be honest,
Mhm.
I did not know when it happened.
Oh, really?
I didn't know when it happened, but I'll share a few things that happened in between that, because initially I said I was going to take 3-4 months off and just focus on this. And I think within that time period, Opera Mini contacted us and a couple of other content creators and said, "Oh, we like what you're doing, right? And would like to see if you could write a few
Scripts.
a few blog articles
Okay.
on our platform and just direct people to them." And I was like, yeah, that sounds like something I'll do. Besides, was getting healthcare in front of people. And they said, okay, here's how much we'll pay you per article. And I looked at it and I looked at my money working 3 jobs at the same time. I was like, there's an imbalance somewhere. Something is not
good. It's not right.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to make this much more from writing. And besides, it was what I really wanted to do. And so I just dove into it head first. Like, okay, 3-4 months, let's stretch it up. Let's stretch it 6 months and just say, because this was able to sustain me and get me to really
put more work in.
So while I was writing for Opera, I was brainstorming on how to make Aproko Doctor a more acceptable platform for everybody. I was trying to creatively analyze ways in order to get info. And it was within that time period that we're able to fine-tune the localization of what we needed to do in order to make Aproko first Nigerian before African. Like I said before, it was us initially trying to appeal to the international audience. So if you had listened to my very early videos, I was starting with, hey, hi guys, we're going to be discussing hepatitis. And nobody was paying attention.
I think I actually saw one of those early videos.
Yes, those very early videos, and nobody was paying attention. But it was within that time frame that you're able to. It was sort of like we had more runway. If you put it in funding now, it was probably Series A funding that just gave us a little bit more time to be able to really fine tune and do what we're doing. And I think I just found myself doing it. At some point, I just looked at, okay, I think this is what I should be doing now. And
saying that it's actually dawned on me. I'm actually aware of this change, right? Because now you sort of give like a warning approach from the get-go. If you are doing this, you better, do you understand? So, and that's quite good. So, but I mean, obviously, you've said that. I was going to ask, but you've pretty much answered the question. The difficulties in transitioning, from being a doctor to a content creator, right? You pretty much addressed that. But so how within, all this, right? Where is the money? What parts of your platforms do you actually, use in generating revenue, really?
So currently, we're currently trying to ensure that it's a self-sustaining business. Okay. So we're making Aproko Doctor no longer centered around a person, rather than it being about a cause. And the cause that we're trying to all garner behind is ensuring that the average Nigerian, the average African, if I dare say, is empowered enough to make decisions about their own healthcare. Okay. And that's why we put this information in a way that they can understand. Because let's face it, before now, you would hardly find health information that actually affected the Nigerian audience. And so a Nigerian had a rash, for instance, he would go online. What exactly was causing this rash? And then when you go online, the pictures you see are not your pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it confuses you further.
Yeah, I've experienced that literally.
And it confuses you further. And we really wanted to empower average Nigerian person. And so when we initially started with me, but we continue to build the platform and continue to build the platform. And right now it has become a platform where other people can come in and give their own expert opinions about Nigerian health matters. I mean, we've had a platform just like this called Unclogged with Aproko Doctor. Unclogged with Aproko Doctor, yes.
Okay,
and that's where we look at disease conditions from either the expert's point of view or the person who's living with it from their own point of view, because we're also trying to generate community. Aside generate community, create awareness about neglected diseases. So where do we make money? We make money from partnerships. For instance, we've had partnerships with different organizations like Bill and Melinda Gates, for instance. We've had with UNICEF. We've had with the World Health Organization, for instance. We've had with private companies, who say, okay, we'd like to get across to your audience. And we think that your platform is one of the best ways that we can actually ensure that that's happening. And we kind of look at it more like support of, support for the channel. And the reason I look at it that way is the more we partner with these agencies, the more we can produce this content that's able to reach more people.
More people, definitely.
So a lot of the revenue comes from majorly partnerships. We have other platforms in which we are now creating enabling environments for other people. For example, we have the Exercise with Aproko Nation, where we gather people together to come exercise, because we're, aside from teaching people, if you create an enabling environment for them
to be fit, right?
Yes, to be healthy generally, because fitness events are beginning to look like Coachella events right now. So we're creating that kind of feel for people to be able to, not just hear it, but do it. We had one of the biggest health parties in Lagos last year called Aproko Nation Fiesta. So if you realize, the doctor is quietly phasing out and being fit with the community. So,
where was I? I've never heard of a health party before. I'm just imagining.
Oh, really? Yeah. We had over 5,000 people in that place.
Can you imagine? I'd love to see that.
Yeah, you should. So
it was. Sorry to cut you short, but did it come with health drinks or generally just tips? Music.
The party?
Yeah.
People exercised. People danced. Someone proposed to their longtime girlfriend on stage. Wow. I know people partied from like 12 p.m. to like 10 p.m.
Wow, that's nice.
And there was no soda, no alcohol, no drugs.
Yeah, definitely has to be no drugs.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was the first of its kind. It had never happened before, and because we had partners, I mean, UNICEF was there, Aquafina was there, quite a number of other companies too were there. It kind of helped us achieve our goal. And that's also because I did not necessarily look at it as a money-making scheme, because if it was a money-making scheme, we would not be Aproko Doctor.
Just clean them out.
Would be something else.
Yes, exactly.
It's really something that was very popular. So I would say we keep the lights on by partnerships. And that's how I've been able to. Yeah. Okay.
Without having to give away the company, which would you say was your best deal, or rather, has been your best partnership so far?
Best partnership. I would rate partnerships based on how they align with our vision. Generally. I wish the best partnerships were more money-based. I mean, I've even partnered with health organizations that I regretted later. So I really wouldn't say what the best partnership is per se, but I would say it depends on how aligned it is. Sometimes you have a partner who understands what you're doing, and what they provide for you may not necessarily be money. It might be
exposure,
advocacy, partnerships with other bigger individuals per se that can actually help you achieve your goals. Money-wise, and I think even if you do the numbers, you really have to be obsessed with what I'm doing, because it's still not a profitable agency like that.
Yeah. I think creativity is the edge here.
Yeah, it's
creativity.
still not very profitable like that when you really think about it. You would, because it's health, and health is a universal human right, right? It should be something that is actually given for free by the government. But then if we look at it, or show that a lot of the cost should actually be shouldered by the government per se. But if we best partnership. I can't say, to be honest.
You've had a lot too. That's probably
I mean, from 2020 till now, even from far back as 2019, 2018, we've had quite a number of partnerships, but I would say the partnership with Upper Mini was the first partnership that actually opened my eyes to what was possible.
Yeah, and I can understand the value of that, the way you said it actually came. So
it just provided us with that runway, so this can actually be sustainable by itself. I mean, I've had partnerships that I love. This partnership with UNICEF, they helped us ensure that the Fiesta was
good,
successful. Sort of, they came heavily. I've had partnerships with even individuals who just say, "Oh, I like what you're doing, and I think I'd like to, support that with what I have." We've had partnerships with private agents. Sometimes I have long-standing partnerships, for instance, with Aquafina, for instance, who's a water company. And like I said, I think it's more about the alignments. It's more about the alignments. The partnership with Bill and Melinda Gates, for instance, aside from it still gives you alignment with other advocates,
especially international.
Exactly.
International
so you can't really rate the best partners. It's just different partnerships, different people.
I guess the holistic combination is the value for you, right?
Exactly.
But with all this, have you turned down any partnership?
Quite a lot.
That didn't align, right?
I've turned down a lot of partnerships that did not align.
Really?
And I think for you to do that, which is why I say you have to have singularity of purpose.
Sorry, I think you need to look into the camera and say that. Let them get you.
I think for you to be sustainable, you have to have a singular focus, singularity of purpose. You have to ask yourself, what are you doing? Or what are you here for? For us, it was to enable the average African make healthier decisions. And so we've had partnerships that I've turned down. I've had partnerships from people who sell, I've had solicitations from people who sell snake oils. Let me just put it that way,
Yeah, that's a controversial one.
Yeah, and when I say snake oils, I'm putting it in quotes, Oh, come get this product that hasn't been researched. There's no research. It's just you in your parlor mixing stuff, and you.
And that's one way ticket down for you if you don't verify it.
Exactly.
For you being the kind of person.
Exactly. It's a one way ticket down. So no matter how juicy you offer me money, I'm going to have to turn it down.
Yeah, you should.
You
should.
Sometimes I've turned out good money too, which is why I say it's you really have to be. You have to be stubborn, especially in your purpose, or else you do everything.
Yeah.
Especially when the money is good. I've turned down partnerships and still turned down partnerships from betting companies.
It doesn't align though, really.
It doesn't align.
It doesn't align.
You get.
If I tell anything, it leads to high blood pressure.
Aside from that, it's addictive.
Yeah.
I've turned down partnerships from people who have slimming belts or whatever it is. I've turned down partnerships from them. Turned down partnerships from quite a number of companies, especially when it doesn't align.
It doesn't. It has to align, especially if not, I mean, you will lose credibility as the individual that has sold himself to actually be this kind of person.
Exactly.
And bringing belts that some people will tell you has cost this and not cost that. So definitely.
But the money is good.
Yeah, it is always good.
Exactly.
Well, that's some discipline though. I guess you really need to know what you want, what you are trying to achieve. And I've done quite a few interviews with people like yourself. And one thing I've actually learned is that the the ones that are actually successful are people that are looking to provide a solution. They're not looking at money, they're not looking at, but they're focused on just providing a solution to something. And
once you provide a solution, the value comes out.
Value comes out then. I mean, every other thing comes, right? Okay, so that's good. So let's now go into, the business model of content creation. A lot of people think you're just an online creator. You sit down behind the camera. You're telling Nkechi to this. I don't want to give that. You know what I'm going to, right? But can you what does what is the business structure really behind Aproko Doctor? What does it look like?
Currently, we have a 20-man team.
20?
Yeah.
That's large.
we have a 20-man team. So whenever you see me behind the camera, you just need to know that there are 20 people
behind the camera.
Yeah. And these people run different aspects of production.
Okay.
Last year we launched 2 movies that were given, short films. One was about cervical cancer. The second was about contact tracing.
Okay.
These was to also create value in the form of films and movies. And that's also because the major part of what we do is storytelling. And let me tell you why storytelling is very powerful. Storytelling, for me, is more powerful than me just sitting down and prescribing. Because when I sit down and prescribe, guess what? You've left with information. But if something else happens, you probably forget that information.
You forget.
Exactly. You forget. But you can remember stories told to you 10, 15 years ago. I mean, we sit down here and we still talk about Titanic from many years ago. Why?
Yeah. Because it created an impression.
It's a story.
Yeah.
It evoked emotions.
Yes.
And from evoking emotions, it stamped itself in your memory. And that's why stories are powerful.
Yeah.
And because of that, we decided, okay, we need to increase the scope of what we're doing. And we created a production company called Buzz Bucket Productions.
Now you're talking. Buzz Bucket Productions, yes. Exactly. So that's what is behind Aproko Doctor.
So it's Buzz Bucket Production that is behind Aproko Doctor.
Okay.
Aside from that, in Buzz Bucket Productions, we also have a talent management agency where we also help other professionals express themselves better, get better partnerships to be able to sustain what we're doing. But like I said, we're also looking for people who are looking to provide a solution. We're not looking for people who just want to be popular. If you want to be popular, there are other management agencies that can manage you.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to provide a solution using storytelling, using digital media, we're here for you, literally. And because we've had enough runway to be able to make enough mistakes, we can advise you on what works and what doesn't work. But we currently have 2 talents signed under us, besides myself, because I'm also a talent under Buzz Bucket. We have Alex Unusual, we have Chinonso Egemba, who happens to be my wife also runs a channel called Chef Amaka. So what she tries to do is to put African ingredients in African cuisine on the limelight. So these different things, Buzz Bucket also has a production studio. So if people want to rent space, especially for up-and-coming content creators, we're also there for you. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes.
I'm telling you, man. It's really good to know, though. And I like the way you're actually applying yourself. It shows you know what you're doing, and definitely. And I like the fact that you brought your wife. Your wife is included too. So I'm big on generational wealth, by the way. So I wish you all success in regards to that. And so what have been the difficulties, in trying to set up, most of all these things?
Having values,
right?
Having values is difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult that thinking about it is exasperating, especially now that I think about it.
Trust me.
When you, especially when you do business in a space where almost everybody is out for the quick money, it becomes very difficult to stand out.
Yeah.
Because at this point, even the algorithms, quote and unquote, favor virality almost of a purpose. And so you have to do the hard work of putting your head down and ensuring that you build as much work and show as much value to people so that they are able to see the value in coalescing around you and becoming that sort of community that sort of thrives around what you do. Like I said, having value. And why I say having values is if you do not have that stubborn singularity, you're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And when you make a lot of mistakes, you just look for what's viral or what's popular and go after that. So when you go after that,
you find out it's not for you.
You find out it's not for you, or you find out you veered off course, that you no longer stand for anything. That's one. Number two is in partnerships, especially when you're dealing with people who do not align. You know, you have to be skillful in order to say no without harming the relationship. You know, of course, ego is going to get in the way.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt a lot of people. You're going to hurt a lot of emotions. People are going to talk about, oh, who does he think he is? Who does she think she is?
For sure.
You know, or how can he say no? But you really don't understand where I'm going to. You know, and so, like I said, singularity of purpose. Bootstrapping is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah. It can be. It can be.
Having to build a production studio, especially from scratch, has been one of the most difficult things. And that's also because I really needed to prove the storytelling works.
Yeah.
It
does work. It
does work. Especially when you're dealing with a field as mine. It's, you know, what are you doing? I'm going to produce health movies. Come on, get out of here. What do you mean you're going to produce health movies?
We see that in the hospital now.
I mean, we see that in the hospital.
But my doctor will tell
yes.
me, yeah.
But then again, because you strongly believe in what you're doing, you have to prove that what you're doing works. And because what you're doing works, you have to show that it works.
Yeah.
And so when you provide it, and I'm showing you that it works, you can't deny
it.
Data right now. And so if you do not have the grit to be able to withstand all these things, it becomes very difficult to actually succeed in a field like my own. There are quite a number of other people who I respect in what they do. An example is Timi Agbaje, for instance, doing it for the law people. You know, he's
doing a good job, though.
Yeah, he is. He is. I'd say people evolve over time. I'd like to see that evolving. I'd like to see it even breaking down, because so long as you can educate the average Nigerian on the streets, even their voting changes based on from what they know. You know, with that education has to go down
from grassroots. So it has
exactly.
to go do you say inside out or from
it has
the
to go
bottom
from the bottom to the top. You know, and I respect people who start from the bottom, especially who start to instill certain knowledge, you know, using storytelling. That's one of the fastest ways to actually energize and inspire people.
That's nice. Going back to health, the health scenario, right? I mean, you tell people how to be healthy and all that. Look, how do you, manage not to burn out with all this you described?
Don't I look burnt out?
That's what I'm wondering.
I looked burnt out already. There's no, I'm not going to sit here and do aspire to and tell you it is difficult. It is difficult managing all those things. But one of the best advice that I've ever gotten in my life was from a mentor of mine, Kayode, who I hold in high regard. And he told me, Nonso, look, you're going to get older. One of the most important things you can do is create systems. So when you hear that, we have a 20-man team, for instance, it's systems that we've built so that I'm able to even attend stuff like this rather than, work. At the same time, too, we're building an AI-powered platform to help the average Nigerian get access to healthcare called our doc.
Okay, so you go to the platform, talk to him, he responds to you.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's nice. I don't think we have any of that.
But for Africans.
Yeah.
Because even when you go to the other AI platforms, AI-powered platforms, you're talking to Nigerians. You're not getting trained on data that's available for you. So just create systems.
With something else.
Exactly. Yeah. So create systems. Once you create systems, it becomes a little bit easier to handle. I won't say it becomes extremely easy, but it becomes a little bit easier to handle.
Yeah.
You also need to understand. I also try to understand what my healthcare is like. I can be a really stubborn person, both health-wise and otherwise. I mean, 3 years ago, bad with time, I had a brain surgery, and I was given 18 days in order to prepare for the brain surgery. And while I was preparing for the brain surgery, I was losing my eyesight. But that didn't stop me from, quote unquote, producing videos for people. While I was blind, I was
I actually saw that video.
Exactly. And then after that, I came out. It looked like I got a second lease on life. And I was like, you know what? I'll hit this head on and go harder. People were like, oh, stop, slow down. You just came out of a surgery. I was in the gym in the next 2 weeks. I was like, nah, you failed to get me 2 weeks ago.
It can't happen anymore. So that's inspiring. It's inspiring.
But then one of the things that really helps me is the gym. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So usually when I go to the gym and I'm lifting heavy or, running, it just feels like the world fades behind. Even if it's for 1 hour, just let all that pressure just go away somewhere, Of course, people have different ways to relax and relieve that pressure. I would suggest the gym.
2 in 1. You have that stillness in your head,
and then you're also helping your body. So after the gym, I get to feel a high. For instance, that someone who just smoked cannabis, for instance, will get the same high. So I would rather do the gym that helps me.
Just do gym. So I mean, you've proved that you can actually do a lot, with health education, and we really appreciate it, right? So I would love for you to, give maybe, let's stick with your field, right? Doctors, nurses, I'd love to give them an ethical way where you feel they can monetize their knowledge. Just an advice. And I want it to be an Aproko Doctor moment. You are Nako. I hope you don't mind.
So there are certain things that can be taken from you. One of the things that can be taken from you is your experience. And you can monetize your experience. You can sell your stories if you want to. There might be other skills outside, because not everybody will be an Aproko Doctor, to be honest. I see quite a number of people who do not have that ability to want to do it. However, it can be learned. But it has to be something that's, if there was nothing else to do in the world, would you be doing this? And for me, the answer is yes. So find out what it is that you really want to do, especially when it comes to creating value. Once you find it, it might take a little bit of trial and error here and there, mistakes, learning curves, but just find it. And then use that to actually increase the amount of people you can reach. I would say don't limit yourself to a small audience. Try to increase your audience as much as you can, but start from communities. Don't focus on going viral. Focus on endearing yourself to your community first. And after a while, your community members become advocates for your community and it increases in size over time. I'd say be patient. There's no one size fits all. There are people who might try Aproko Doctor style and win. There are other people who might try their own. Oh, it just means appealing to your audience. There are different communities out there. You just need to know what community you belong to. And most importantly, I wish you good luck, especially if you're doing it in Nigeria, because I'm not gonna give you go hard. It's hard, which is why, I feel like the next step for me is actually influencing policies that favor health, because that's the only way I think we can grow.
And trust me, you're not far from it, really. So what's one income stream that you feel you haven't explored yet that probably plan to?
Lifestyle,
yeah.
Lifestyle.
I mean, what else now? You're healthy, everything is fine, right? Go to lifestyle.
But then incorporating health into lifestyle.
Okay, that's nice.
But I'm sure we have something cooking coming up soon.
Definitely. with the kind of things you're into, definitely there's some things coming. And so my final question, before we call it a day. So if you had to start from zero naira, I have 90 days to get back, what would you do as a health content creator?
0 naira with zero community?
Yeah,
or zero everything?
Everything. 90 days. Same thing you're doing now, but if you're down bad and you had 90 days to get back up, what would you do? Take your time. Take your time.
90 days down bad, nothing to do.
Yeah. 0 naira, 0 followers. But the inspiration is still there to provide that solution. What would you do?
Do I lose the community I've built?
No.
By community, I don't mean just followers. I mean the relationships I've modeled over time, built over time.
Okay, we can give you that.
You can give
Let
me
me
that.
give you that, right?
Okay.
Let's not be like the world is against you. You start by?
I'll start by making some calls.
Calls, right?
First off. And that's because I strongly believe that success comes from within, not without. Especially if it's something that's been sustained for a while. But I also believe that because we're social beings, we thrive in the power of community. And so that's why I said I'll start by making some calls. There are people who strongly believe in what I do and what kind of value it gives. And we're willing to get back behind the horse again and let's go. Of course, you're going to have to put in a few favors here and there.
Yeah, of course.
Start by also put in a few favors. Some part of me would say, oh, just be stubborn and just go again. But then I realized I no longer had the strengths I had when I was 22 or 25.
You don't. Trust me. You can feel it. No one needs to tell you.
Nobody needs to tell you. You don't. So systems. Create different systems that work. Luckily, I didn't lose the brand name. So that's one thing that has been trademarked. So we can start again from fresh.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of work put into that.
There's been a lot of work. But 90 days.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good challenge, even though I'm not putting it into the universe.
You don't want to experience that.
I don't. I have. Close,
right?
Close, but nah.
Oh my goodness. I wish I had more time. It was really, really nice having you. And so for all of you that are looking to make money from your skill or knowledge, right? This is a very good episode for you. You can follow in Aproko Doctors. You can follow his plan. Do you understand? And if you're in his field, I'll say you should try something else because you'll be very good competition for you. Or, from stethoscopes to being behind cameras, right? Aproko Doctor is paid in full. And I thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you.
So you can always catch up with this video on Spotify, on your YouTube channel. Share with your friends. And definitely, like I said, if it was of value to you or you're looking to generally make money from your skill, and this is a very good video for you. So please share it with your friends. I'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye.